The man in the priority seat does not see him coming. He never does. Kangmin Woo sits with his white cane folded across his lap, earphones in, small thermos of barley tea warm between both palms. The Seoul metro hums beneath him, that low, familiar vibration he has learned to read the way other people read faces. He knows this line. He knows this hour. Thursday evening, line 2, the particular rhythm of a train carrying office workers home and university students somewhere they would rather be. He is one of the latter. Yonsei hoodie, slightly faded at the cuffs. 3 days without enough sleep. The kind of exhaustion that lives behind the eyes, except his eyes stopped telling him things a long time ago. He is not thinking about danger. He never thinks about danger on this train. That is his first mistake. Real quick, tap that like button, subscribe to join the family, and comment your country below. I'm always excited to see how far these stories travel across the world. The shift happens the way bad things always happen, quietly, in the space between one breath and the next. A new presence settles 2 feet behind him. Expensive shoes on tile. The particular stillness of a person waiting for the right moment. Kangmin does not hear this. He feels it, a micro change in the air near his left shoulder, the faint displacement of someone leaning with intention. His hand closes around his bag strap. Not tightly. Not in panic. Just closed. The way a door locks without making a sound. Across the carriage, a man in a plain dark coat watches all of this happen in under 4 seconds. He does nothing. He simply looks. His eyes find the would-be thief's eyes across 12 feet of fluorescent light and stale recycled air. He does not move. He does not speak. He does not need to. There is something in that gaze, still, flat, absolute, that belongs to a man who has never once in his life needed to raise his voice to be the most dangerous thing in a room. The thief recalculates. Steps back. Gets off at the next stop without looking behind him. Kangmin never knows any of it happened. He simply sits, thermos between his palms, head tilting faintly toward the window. Unaware. Unguarded. Quietly, devastatingly alive in the way that people are when they have never learned to perform for anyone. The man in the dark coat looks away. Then he looks back. The train rocks. Kangmin's head tilts toward the glass. Something about the angle of it, the complete absence of pretense, the way this person simply exists without armor, makes the man's jaw tighten. He should be reviewing the internal memo on his phone. He should be thinking about the leak in his inner circle, the reason he is on this train in the first place instead of in the back of an armored car. He should be thinking about 100 things that are not the profile of a stranger in a university hoodie. He is not thinking about any of them. He should have gotten off at Gangnam Station. He didn't. 3 weeks pass. Then Friday arrives and ruins everything. Kangmin boards line 2 at 11:14 at night carrying the specific weight of someone who has not slept properly since Tuesday. His composition deadline passed 72 hours ago, technically. In reality it passed through him like a wave and left nothing calm behind. His professor wants revisions. His part-time students need lesson plans. His apartment has exactly 1 working light bulb and half a container of leftover doenjang jjigae that he is no longer sure is safe to eat. He finds a seat near the doors. He sits. He exhales. His eyes close. He does not mean to fall asleep. He is simply a 26-year-old carrying too much alone, on a moving train, after midnight, and his body makes the decision before his mind can object. His head drops. Then it lists. Then, with the slow, inevitable gravity of complete exhaustion, it finds a shoulder that should not be there. It is. The man in the dark coat goes completely, absolutely still. Yoonho Shin has sat through 7-hour hostage negotiations. He has walked into rooms where every person present wanted him dead and ordered tea. He has built an empire on the architecture of absolute control, the kind of control that other men spend their lives trying to imitate and never once approach. There is no situation he has not prepared for. There is no variable he cannot account for. He did not account for this. For 40 minutes he does not move. The train carries them past Gangnam Station. past his stop. Through the long dark stretch of tunnel where Seoul disappears and there is nothing outside the window but rushing black air. He stares at it. He is aware of every breath the person against his shoulder takes, the slow, unconscious rhythm of someone who is, for the first time in what feels like a long time, genuinely at rest. His chest does something he has no name for. He burns the name away before it can form. When Kangmin finally stirs, it is with a soft, confused sound, the particular disorientation of waking somewhere unexpected. His hand reaches out immediately, the trained instinct of someone who navigates by touch, by air pressure, by the geometry of things he cannot see. His fingers find a wrist. They close around it. Warm. Unhurried. Completely unaware of what they are holding. Yoonho looks down at those fingers. He does not pull away. Sorry, Kangmin says. His voice is thick with sleep, rough at the edges, a little mortified. I couldn't tell. It's fine, Yoonho says. The words come out quieter than he intends. Without the edge he uses for everything else. He means to stand. He means to exit. He means to fold this moment away into the same place he folds everything that cannot be useful to him. Instead he hears his own voice ask, Are you getting off here? Kangmin tilts his head. That same slight angle from 3 weeks ago, like he is listening for something underneath the words, some threat, some angle, some reason to pull back. He finds nothing. No, Kangmin says softly. Are you? The train hums. Seoul moves outside the window in rivers of light that one of them cannot see and the other stopped noticing years ago. Not anymore, Yoonho says. He watches Kangmin navigate the platform 20 minutes later, white cane moving in precise, unhurried arcs, shoulders straight, pace steady. Someone who has learned to own every space he enters even when that space was not built for him. Yoonho stands at the doors until they close. He does not call anyone. He does not move. He knows Kangmin's name by morning. He tells himself that is a normal thing. A routine security check. Meaningless. It is not normal. It is not meaningless. And somewhere behind the part of him that runs on logic and controlled precision, Yoonho Shin already knows it. The file lands on Yoonho's desk at 6 a.m. on a Saturday. He reads the surface layer in under 4 minutes. Graduate researcher, Yonsei University, music composition. Part-time piano instructor. Single mother deceased. Modest income. No criminal record. No political affiliations. No connections to any of the 12 networks Yoonho monitors on any given morning. On paper, Kangmin Woo is exactly what he looks like, a quiet young man with a white cane and a worn university hoodie, the kind of person that power walks past without registering. Yoonho turns the page. The second layer stops him. He reads it once. Then he reads it again, not because he does not understand it, but because he is making sure he does. Wu Zhengxiang Estate. 400 billion won in dormant land trusts and private holdings. A legal labyrinth constructed 23 years ago with enough careful architecture to keep a legitimate heir locked out for decades. And at the center of that architecture, the name of the man who built it. Oh Taejun. Yoonho is quiet for a long moment. Outside his floor-to-ceiling windows, Gangnam is waking up in pale morning light, black SUVs pulling out of underground garages, coffee shop shutters rising, the city beginning its daily performance of ambition and order. He does not look at any of it. He is looking at the name on the page and at the sealed case number 2 lines below it, a case that lives in his own archive, filed under a man he dismantled 2 years ago for entirely different reasons. A confession recorded. Witnessed. Irrefutable. Containing everything. He does not ask himself why he pulls the archive file immediately. He does not examine the speed at which his hands move. He simply reads, and as he reads, pieces that have been separate for 2 years align with the clean, quiet certainty of a proof completing itself. He sends one message. No signature. No explanation. Just an address and a time, and I have something that belongs to you. Kangmin receives it at noon. Sun Woo, his best friend since their first year at Yonsei, loud and fiercely protective and almost always right, reads it over his shoulder and says, with the flat certainty of someone who has watched too many crime dramas and not enough of them are fiction. That is a trap. That is the most obvious trap I have ever seen. You are not going. I'm going, Kangmin says. Kangmin. Someone knows about the estate, Sunwoo. His voice is calm. It is the particular calm of a man who has been waiting 4 years for a door to open and has just heard the lock turn. That is not a coincidence I can afford to ignore. Sunwoo says 7 more things, all of them reasonable, all of them correct. Kangmin listens to all of them. Then he folds his cane, puts on his good coat, and goes. The restaurant exists in the kind of quiet that money creates. No background music, no visible staff, no other diners. Kangmin finds the table by the faint sound of a single candle and the shift in air pressure near a private corner booth. He sits across from someone whose presence fills the space the way low pressure fills a room before a storm. Not loud, not moving, simply there and impossible to ignore. A folder slides across the table. He hears the smooth weight of paper. Before you open that, the voice says, low, unhurried, carrying no warmth and no cruelty, just the complete absence of any need to perform. Understand. Once you know what is inside, there is no version of your life that stays the same. Kangmin's hand rests on the folder. The leather is cool beneath his fingers. He does not open it yet. He breathes. The candle between them does not flicker. How far would you go for the truth about your own life? Stay right here, because what Kangmin finds inside that folder is going to change absolutely everything. Kangmin opens the folder. His fingers move across the first page slowly, not reading with touch, but orienting, feeling the edges, reaching for the audio device Yoonho's team has already prepared beside it. A recording. He presses play. The voice that comes through the small speaker is old, careful, and deeply afraid, the voice of a man confessing because he has run out of other options. It speaks for 11 minutes. It names dates. It names figures. It names a car. It names a road outside Maplegu on a Tuesday morning in March, 23 years ago. It names June. Kangmin stops the recording at the 9-minute mark. He sits completely still. Not the stillness of shock, something older than that, something that has been waiting inside his body since he was 3 years old and woke up in a hospital and was told, very gently, that the world would look different now. Yoonho watches him from across the table and recognizes that stillness the way you recognize a language you once spoke fluently and have not used in a very long time. He does not fill the silence. When Kangmin finally speaks, his voice is level. What do you want? One thing, Yoonho says. Something only you can do. The private gala is in 6 weeks. Taejun's annual charity event, 300 of Seoul's most powerful people in a single room, the one night of the year Taejun lets the world see him as generous, as clean, as untouchable. Security screens every name on the guest list 3 times. Every name except the performers. He has a particular weakness for live classical music, the kind that signals culture to people who want to project it. A young blind pianist from Yonsei, critically acclaimed, completely apolitical, no obvious connection to anyone dangerous, would be exactly what his event coordinator would recommend. One night inside Taejun's world. Kangmin performs. Yoonho's people move through the periphery. The remaining documents, the ones that require a physical handoff from a contact inside Taejun's own legal team, come home. And in return, Yoonho says, everything in that archive goes to your legal team. Clean. Documented. Enough to take him apart in open court. Kangmin is quiet. His thumb moves across the edge of the folder. I'm not asking you to do anything dangerous, Yoonho says. You're asking me to walk into a room with a man who had my mother killed, Kangmin says. His voice does not shake. That is the most devastating thing about it. That is dangerous. Just not in the way you mean. He stands. He reaches for his cane. He is halfway to the door when Yoonho's voice reaches him across the room. He had your mother's car followed for 6 weeks before the accident. Kangmin stops walking. The restaurant is completely silent. Not even the candle moves. How long have you known that? Kangmin asks. 2 years. Why didn't you use it? A pause. Not the pause of someone choosing their words. The pause of someone saying the true thing instead of the easy one. I was waiting, Yoonho says. For the right person. The silence between them is not empty. It is full of everything neither man is ready to say out loud yet. Kangmin stands with his back to the room and his hand on his cane and the weight of 23 years pressing against the back of his ribs. And he does not move, and Yoonho does not move, and Seoul hums outside the windows like it has no idea what it just witnessed. Kangmin already said yes before he turned around. He just has not said it yet. The Gangnam residence does not look like what Kangmin expected. He is not sure what he expected. Cold marble and visible danger, maybe. Men at doorways. The specific tension of a place where violence is always one decision away. What he finds instead is light. Warm and natural, coming through high windows. The low hum of a home that is lived in. The smell of barley and clean wood and very faintly, fresh ink. Haechan meets him at the entrance. Late 20s. Quick eyes, quick mouth, the energy of someone who processes information at a speed most people cannot track and has long since stopped pretending otherwise. He looks Kangmin over once, not rudely, but completely, the way a person looks at something they are deciding whether to trust. Then he takes Kangmin's coat without being asked and says, You want the tour or do you want to get straight to the room we set up for your equipment? Straight to the room, Kangmin says. Haechan almost smiles. Good answer. The room is a study off the main hallway, a portable keyboard already positioned, chair at the right height, a small side table with water and what smells immediately and specifically like barley tea. Kangmin registers this. He does not comment on it. He sits. He runs his fingers across the keys without pressing them, just mapping the instrument, getting his bearings the way he always does, slowly, thoroughly, without apology. He does not notice when the footsteps in the hallway outside go quiet. The interruption arrives not as sound but as weight, a small, warm presence that appears at his left knee with no warning and no preamble. Kangmin goes still. The presence does not move away. He reaches down, carefully, and his hand finds the top of a small head. A child. Sitting cross-legged on the floor beside his chair, close enough that their shoulders are almost touching, looking up at him with the particular focused attention of someone who has decided, on their own terms and in their own time, that this person is interesting. Hello? Kangmin says quietly. No response. But the child does not move. Kangmin turns back to the keyboard. He begins to play, something slow, something without edges, a melody that does not announce itself but simply opens like a window. He feels the moment the small hands rise from the floor. He feels them settle, very lightly, against the side of the keyboard casing, not touching the keys, just resting there, reading the vibration through their palms. He shifts without stopping the melody. He finds one small hand. He moves it gently to the surface of the keys, not pressing, just resting. Letting the sound travel up through the child's fingertips. The melody moves through both of them. In the doorway, Yoonho Shin stands with both hands at his sides and watches an 8-year-old boy who has not spoken in 4 months lift his head, look at the man at the keyboard, and sign a single word with careful, deliberate hands. Again. Yoonho turns. He walks back down the hallway. He stops in the kitchen. He stands over the counter with both hands flat on the cool surface and breathes. A long, measured exhale that no one is present to hear, and for exactly 30 seconds he allows himself to feel the thing pressing against the back of his chest that he has spent 10 years learning not to feel. Then he straightens. He fills a cup from the kettle on the counter. He carries it back to the study doorway. Kangmin's hands have stilled on the keys. He tilts his head at the sound of footsteps, that precise, listening angle. How did you know? Yoonho sets the cup on the table. You had a thermos on the train. That was 3 weeks ago. Silence. I know, Yoonho says. He leaves. The tea steams gently in the quiet room. Jiho's hands are still pressed flat against the keyboard, waiting. And Kangmin sits with the warmth of the cup beside him, and the weight of 2 words echoing in the space where music was, and he does not move for a long time. The music stops Yoonho cold in the hallway. He was not looking for it. He was walking past the closed door of the music room with a phone call already forming in his mind, security rotations, gala logistics, the contact inside Taejin's legal team who needed to be repositioned before the event. Practical things. Things that belong to the part of his life he knows how to manage. Then the melody comes through the door and every practical thing dissolves. It is not the piece Kangmin has been rehearsing for the gala. That piece is precise, controlled, designed to impress without revealing. This is something else entirely. This is a piece that sounds like grief that has been held so long it turned into something almost beautiful, uneven in places, unresolved in others, the kind of composition that could only come from someone who wrote it alone in the dark and never intended for another person to hear it. Yoonho stands in the hallway for a full minute. Then he opens the door. Kangmin does not stop playing. He tilts his head slightly at the sound of the door, acknowledging without breaking, and his hands keep moving across the keys like the melody is the only thing holding the moment together. Yoonho crosses the room. He sits in the chair nearest the keyboard, not speaking, not intruding, just present. The piece moves through its final measures and then ends not with resolution but with a single note that hangs in the air and slowly fades. Silence. You wrote that, Yoonho says. It is not a question. The night my mother died, Kangmin says. I was 19. I sat at the practice room piano at 2 in the morning and played until my hands stopped shaking. He pauses. I have never played it for anyone. Yoonho is quiet for a moment that carries real weight. Why tonight? Kangmin turns slightly toward him. Because this room felt safe enough. Something moves behind Yoonho's eyes. He looks at the keyboard instead of at Kangmin. His voice, when it comes, is stripped of every layer he usually keeps between himself and the world. I don't know what to do with you. Kangmin is still for a beat. Then, very quietly. That is the most frightening thing you have said to me. Why? Because everything else you've said you were certain about. Yoonho reaches out. There is a loose thread at Kangmin's sleeve, fraying slightly at the cuff. The kind of small detail that belongs to someone who takes care of important things and forgets to take care of himself. Yoonho tucks it back. His hand does not leave. It rests at the edge of Kangmin's wrist, not holding, not moving. Just there. Kangmin turns toward him, sightless eyes level, face completely open, no armor left anywhere. The space between them compresses to almost nothing. Tell me to stop, Yoonho says. Kangmin says nothing. The silence stretches across the room like a held breath. Either of them moves. The candle on the side table burns straight and steady. Somewhere outside the window, Seoul carries on its indifferent, glittering business, and in this room 2 men stand at the edge of something that cannot be walked back from, and neither of them steps away. Then Kangmin's phone rings. The sound cracks the moment open like a stone through glass. Kangmin reaches for it. Sunwa's name, loud and insistent. He answers. Yoonho stands. He moves to the window and stands with his back to the room, one hand flat against the glass, looking at the city below with an expression no one in his professional life has ever been permitted to see. That night, either of them sleeps. Kangmin is already awake when Yoonho comes downstairs. He is sitting at the kitchen counter with both hands wrapped around a cup, still and unhurried, facing the direction of the window the way he always faces light sources, not because he can see them but because warmth has a direction and he has always known how to find it. He does not say good morning. He says, without preamble, without softening, "Tell me what you actually are." Yoonho stops walking. He looks at Kangmin for a long moment. Then he pulls out the chair across from him and sits. He does not deflect. He does not reach for the careful, corporate version of himself that he uses when the world needs to believe he is only a chairman. He tells Kangmin the true thing, ENIGMA, what it means, what it built, what it has taken apart. The 3 families. The network that runs beneath 6 districts of Seoul like a second nervous system. The Blue House corruption ring. For officials, 2 years of evidence, one coordinated collapse that the news reported as an internal investigation and was not. He lays it out clean and factual, without apology, without drama, the way a man describes something he has fully accepted about himself. I am not a good person, he finishes. But I am honest. Kangmin is quiet for a long time. His thumb moves around the rim of the cup. Did anyone you destroyed not deserve it? A pause. No. Kangmin nods. Once. Slowly. Then we agree on more than you think. He calls Sunwoo an hour later. He should not have. He knows before the call connects what Sunwoo is going to say, because Sunwoo has been saying the right thing about this situation from the beginning and has been completely correct every single time, and it has not changed anything. Kangmin, Sunwoo says, his voice at the specific frequency it reaches when he is trying not to shout. This man is ENIGMA. Do you understand what that means? People who cross him don't file complaints. They disappear. I know what he is, Kangmin says. Then why? I also know what he's given me. His voice is quiet. Final. The tone that Sunwoo has known since university means the decision is already made and the conversation is about information, not persuasion. For years, Sunwoo. I have been building this case for 4 years alone. He walked in and handed me the last piece like it cost him nothing. Like I mattered enough to hold on to it. Sunwoo is silent for a moment. When he speaks again, his voice has shifted, still worried, but underneath the worry, something that sounds reluctantly like understanding. Just be careful. I'm always careful. You fell asleep on a stranger on the metro. Kangmin opens his mouth. Closes it. He has no answer for that. Evening comes slowly, the way it does in the weeks before a Seoul summer, the light lasting longer than feels reasonable, the city holding on to the day like it is not ready to let go. Kangmin and Yoonho are in the main room when Haechan's footsteps come down the hall at a pace that is not running but is close enough that both men look up before the door opens. Haechan stops in the doorway. His voice is flat and even, the particular tone of a man who has been trained to deliver bad news without adding panic to it. There's been a development. He looks at Kangmin, then at Yoonho. Oh, Taejun knows Kangmin is here. The room does not move. Yoonho's expression does not change. That is the most frightening thing about it. Which side of this are you on right now? Comment below, because the next chapter is where everything stops being theoretical. The surveillance photograph is already on Yoonho's desk when Kangmin wakes. He hears the change in the house before anyone tells him about it. 2 additional sets of footsteps in the hallway by 6 in the morning. A door on the east side of the residence that was not locked yesterday, locked now. Haechan's voice in the outer room, low and continuous, the cadence of someone working a problem from multiple directions at once. Kangmin sits on the edge of the bed and listens to all of it, and understands without being told that the shape of the situation has changed overnight. Yoonho appears in the doorway. You cannot go back to your apartment. I know, Kangmin says. Yoonho looks at him, that long, assessing look that Kangmin cannot see but has learned to feel, the specific quality of attention from someone who is deciding how much to say and in what order. Taejun has a photograph of you entering this building. He does not yet know the full context. But he is moving. How fast? Fast enough that you stay here. It is not a question. Kangmin knows it is not a question. He also knows, in some part of himself that has been quietly calculating since the restaurant, that this was always one of the possible shapes this arrangement could take. He nods. Jiho finds him within 20 minutes, and does not leave his side for the rest of the day. The boy moves through the residence like a small, determined shadow, appearing at Kangmin's elbow in the kitchen, settling cross-legged on the floor beside the keyboard during the afternoon practice session, pressing both small palms flat against the casing to catch the vibration the way Kangmin taught him. Kangmin lets him stay. There is something clarifying about Jiho's presence, the way the child moves toward warmth with the uncomplicated certainty of someone who has not yet learned to distrust his own instincts. Dinner is quiet. The 3 of them, Kangmin, Yoonho, Jiho, At the low table in the main room, Haechin moving in and out on calls he keeps short and controlled. The meal is doenjang jjigae and rice, simple and clean, the kind of food that means someone in this house actually knows what comfort looks like. Jiho eats with focused, systematic attention. Yoonho eats without tasting, the way men eat when their minds are operating somewhere else entirely. Kangmin eats and listens, to the city outside, to the particular quality of silence in the room, to the things sitting between him and Yoonho that neither of them has named. After Jiho is asleep, Yoonho says, "I will keep you safe." Kangmin sets down his cup. "I didn't ask you to." "I know," Yoonho says. "I'm telling you anyway." The silence that follows is not empty. It is the kind of silence that means both people in a room have arrived at the same understanding from different directions, and are deciding whether to admit it. Then Haechin's voice comes from the doorway. Quiet. Controlled. The voice of a man reading something off a screen that he wishes he were not reading. "It just came through. Oh Taejun has filed an emergency legal injunction. Wujungsiang Estate. He's moving to seize it before Kangmin's legal team can act." A pause. "They have 72 hours. Kangmin goes still. Not the stillness of shock. The stillness of a man who has just watched 23 years of careful, patient work come down to 3 days. He turns toward where Yoonho is sitting. He cannot see the expression on Yoonho's face. He does not need to. He can feel the shift in the room, the temperature of a decision being made, the specific weight of a man who has just moved from observation to action in the space of a single breath. And Kangmin understands, for the first time and with complete clarity, that this man would burn the city down before he let Oh Taejun win. He does not yet know whether that terrifies him. He does not yet know whether it makes him feel, for the first time in his entire life, completely safe. He suspects, sitting in the warm quiet of this apartment with Jiho asleep down the hall and Yoonho 3 feet away and the clock already running, that the answer is both. 72 hours. Everything Kangmin has fought for, on the line. And the most dangerous man in Seoul just made it his fight too. Comment right now, what do you think Yoonho is about to do? Yoonho is gone before the sun comes up. Kangmin hears the front door, the soft, deliberate sound of a man who has learned to move through the world without disturbing it. He lies still in the dark and counts the minutes and does not sleep. Haechin is at the kitchen table by 6, working 3 screens simultaneously, his voice when he makes calls stripped to its most essential function, information in, instruction out, no wasted breath. The legal archive release goes out at 7:14 in the morning. Kangmin's legal team receives it 17 minutes later. His lead attorney calls within the hour, voice tight with something that takes Kangmin a moment to identify as barely contained disbelief. "This is everything," she says. "Kangmin, this is every piece we were missing. All of it. This dismantles the injunction, it opens the estate claim, and it puts Oh Taejun in front of a criminal prosecutor before the end of the month." "I know," Kangmin says. "How did you?" "I had help," he says. He does not hear from Yoonho for 9 hours. Jiho stays close. He sits beside Kangmin on the couch through the long afternoon, not playing, not signing, just present in the particular way children are present when they understand that something important and frightening is happening and they have chosen, deliberately, to anchor themselves to the person who makes them feel least afraid. Kangmin keeps one hand near enough that Jiho can reach it if he needs to. Jiho reaches it approximately every 20 minutes. Either of them comments on this. The door opens at 7:30 in the evening. Kangmin hears it, the specific rhythm of those footsteps, familiar now in a way that bypasses every analytical process he has and lands somewhere more immediate. He stands. He hears Haechin say something low and quick, hears a response that is shorter than it should be, and then the footsteps come down the hall and stop in the doorway. "Yoonho." Kangmin says his name before Haechin can announce him. He crosses the room. He reaches out, one hand finding the air between them, and his fingers find a hand. He turns it over carefully. Across the knuckles a cut. Not deep. Already cleaned. But real, and recent, and telling. Kangmin does not ask what happened. He presses both his hands around Yoonho's and holds them still. Either of them speaks. The room is very quiet. Jiho appears in the hallway behind them, takes in the scene with his careful, watchful eyes, and then walks over and climbs onto the couch between where they will sit and tucks his feet under himself and closes his eyes with the complete trust of a child who has decided the people around him are solid ground. Kangmin sits. Yoonho sits beside him. Kangmin keeps his hands around Yoonho's. I can live with who you are, Kangmin says. It is not an absolution. It is not forgiveness for something Kangmin was never owed. It is a choice, clean and fully informed and made with both eyes open, which is its own kind of extraordinary coming from a man whose eyes have never shown him the world the way other people see it. It is the truest thing he has said to anyone in years. Yoonho exhales. It is the sound of something releasing that has been held tightly for a very long time. For a moment there is nothing but that sound, and Jiho's quiet breathing, and the city outside doing what Seoul always does, pressing forward, indifferent, beautiful, never stopping for anything. Then Yoonho says, into the dark, very quietly, I knew the moment I saw you. Kangmin turns toward him. On the train? No. A pause. When you fell asleep on my shoulder. You weren't afraid of me. Kangmin is still for a beat. Should I have been? The silence that follows is long enough to hold everything the last several weeks have built between them. Every cup of tea. Every held wrist. Every door Yoonho stood outside of and every room Kangmin walked into without flinching. Everyone else is, Yoonho says. Kangmin's hands tighten slightly around his. Not in response to the danger in the words. In response to the ache underneath them, the specific loneliness of a man who has been the most feared person in every room he has ever entered, and has never once been the person someone chose to fall asleep beside. I'm not everyone else, Kangmin says. Yoonho looks at him for a long time. No, he says finally. You are not. What just happened in that room changed both of them forever. 8 months moved through Seoul the way the Han River moves, without asking permission, carrying everything forward whether the people on its banks are ready or not. Oh Tae-joon is formally indicted on a Tuesday in November. The charges are read in a courtroom on the 14th floor of the Seoul Central District Court, and they are significant enough that 3 major newspapers run it above the fold, and 2 television networks interrupt their evening programming. He sits at the defendant's table in the suit he wore to his last charity gala, dark, expensive, the armor of a man who spent 64 years believing that presentation was the same thing as protection. It is not. The confession recording plays in its entirety. 11 minutes. Every name. Every date. Every decision. Kangmin is not in the courtroom. He is in a practice room at the Seoul Arts Center, 3 hours before his premiere, running the final measures of his mother's piece for the last time before the lights go up. The hall fills at 7:30. 300 people, a sold-out program, the particular energy of an audience that has arrived ready to be moved. Yoonho Shin is in the front row. He is in a dark suit, no insignia, no visible security, just a man in a seat, hands folded in his lap, with the complete stillness of someone who has cleared his entire schedule for the first time in a decade and told no one why. Beside him, Jiho sits with his small back very straight and his hands folded in his lap in direct imitation of the man next to him, which Yoonho has noticed and chosen not to comment on. Behind them, Haechin, who has stated clearly and on multiple occasions that he is here in a professional capacity, and not because he has any personal emotional investment in this evening, has not blinked in 4 minutes. The lights drop. The stage fills with the particular quality of darkness that precedes something real. Kangmin walks out. He finds the bench by the sound of his own footsteps returning to him from the stage floor, the precise, unhurried navigation of a man who has been reading spaces through his feet and his skin and the air against his face for 23 years. He sits. He does not adjust the microphone. He does not acknowledge the audience. He simply places his hands on the keys and begins. The piece opens the way grief opens, without warning and without apology. It moves through the hall and into the chests of 300 people who are not prepared for it, and it does not stop. It does not ask. It simply tells the truth, note by note, the way his mother's life was the truth, interrupted, unfinished, irreplaceable. It is the piece he wrote at 19 in a dark practice room with shaking hands, and it is the most complete thing he has ever made, and now 300 people are hearing it, and one small boy in the front row is pressing both palms flat to the armrests of his seat to feel the vibration travel through the wood and up into his hands. Jiho lifts both hands. He signs the same word over and over with careful, deliberate joy. Beautiful. 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 Haechin turns to look at the stage ceiling. Backstage, after the particular beautiful chaos of a performance ending, people moving, voices everywhere, Yoonho finds him. Kangmin hears those footsteps through the noise the way he has learned to hear them through any room, any crowd, any amount of distance. He turns. Yoonho stands in front of him and says nothing for a moment. He looks at Kangmin the way he has been looking at him since a Thursday evening on line 2, like something that rearranged the furniture of his interior world simply by existing, and he is still, 8 months later, navigating the new layout. Best decision I ever made, Yoonho says. Kangmin tilts his head. That same precise angle from the train, searching the voice for its true meaning, finding it easily. Not moving? Not moving, Yoonho confirms. They are in the same city that tried to erase them both. The city did not succeed. Later, much later, when Jiho has fallen asleep in the car and Haechin is driving and the Han River is sliding past the windows in long ribbons of reflected light, the two of them stand on a Seoul metro platform. A late train. Platform quiet. The city overhead going about its endless, glittering life without them for a few minutes. Kangmin has his white cane in one hand. Yoonho is in his dark coat. Their shoulders are close enough to touch. The train arrives. The doors open. Light pours out onto the platform. This time, either of them is standing there alone. He never learned to be afraid of the dark. Yoonho never learned to survive the light. Between them, they built something neither one could have made alone, out of a missed stop, a borrowed shoulder, and the particular courage of two people who chose each other in spite of every reason not to. Some collisions do not make noise. They simply change everything. If this story moved you, if you felt something in your chest during that final scene, then this channel was made for you. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a new story. Every week, a new world. Every episode, two people who were never supposed to find each other, finding each other anyway. Drop a comment and tell us what this story meant to you, what you felt, what hit hardest, what you will carry with you. And if you know someone who needs a story like this one right now, share it with them. You never know whose night you might change. Thank you for staying until the end. We will see you in the next one.